So, I feel like as young adults that have gone through puberty and are now in the beginning stages of adulthood, we sometimes tend to experience moments where we don't really understand what we're feeling, or we feel like we're lacking something in our lives, or we just don't understand certain things around us, or why they happened, or why we feel and react to certain things in a certain way. And that all ties into something that I like to call emotional intelligence. Personally, I am a person that struggles with addressing these issues. I sometimes put my anxiety or my negative emotions on the back burner, and I tend to not go to therapy, and I tend to not get help sometimes. I like to handle things on my own, and I really am the type of person that thinks that they can do it all. And I'm only human, and I can only do things so much for a certain period of time. Over the years, high rates of mental health issues or mental health problems have been documented amongst college students. So 29% of college students have been noted to have elevated levels of depression, and 27% have elevated levels of anxiety, 24% high levels of stress. So if you've checked all three, I think it's time to get that checked out. I wanted to speak on emotional intelligence. So, emotional intelligence can be described as the understanding of feelings, the ability to accurately perceive emotions and to access and generate emotions as well, and to have that emotional, mental understanding of yourself. Basically, it's knowing how to regulate your emotions and finding healthy outlets for them. Some signs of emotional intelligence are simply not listening to others, not listening to yourself, to what your body or your mind might be telling you, having those emotional moments, those emotional outbursts, blaming others, or possibly blaming yourself for certain situations in your life. And there's also the fact that you always have to be right, which includes being argumentative and basically picking fights. It doesn't have to be extreme, and it doesn't have to be something where you're just a horrible person walking around and just making everyone miserable. That's not at all what having low emotional intelligence is. Of course, the symptoms vary, and they are all different because we're all different and we all experience our emotional intelligence or our emotions in different ways. And the most important thing is being self aware, self regulating, and having that social awareness. And that's the best way that you can address that. The reason I feel like this is so important is because, like the studies show, the amount of college students that are feeling this way or are experiencing heavy depression, heavy stress, heavy anxiety, it's very important because that could be our friends, our family, or it might apply to us. And it's important that we are able to talk to others and be able to use our social awareness to help others become socially aware of their own lack of emotional intelligence or just lack of help. Those psychological stressors that we have in our everyday life affect our emotional intelligence, and it affects our mental health as a whole. Fortunately, mental health is something that everyone is starting to talk about more openly, and it's something that schools and other facilities are taking into consideration, which it's been a long time coming. We really need it, and I'm glad it's happening. So most of the time, emotional intelligence can be, again, treated with social awareness, the social skills, and self-regulating, and just being self-conscious of all of those emotions. That definitely helps. Those are also things that can be discussed in therapy sessions or any form of therapy, but sometimes the problem can be a little bit more deep rooted, or perhaps it's just trauma that hasn't been addressed yet. And that is definitely something that therapy helps with. Of course, therapy is one of those things that takes a lot of courage to get into, and it's not something that you can just, oh, I need therapy, I'm just gonna head to the office tomorrow. It's not one of those things that you can just decide on the spot to do. It takes time, and it takes a lot of that self-regulating self-awareness that emotional intelligence brings, and it's something that you can build upon. And it's definitely very important because that way we are more empathetic towards others and we're more empathetic towards ourselves, because we as college students and just as young people in general can be very hard on ourselves, and it's important to give ourselves that tender loving care that we need for our minds, our hearts, and everything. And it definitely helps with the people around us, and we're able to care for them as well. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Adie Landa, and have a good morning, afternoon, or evening.